Welcome everyone. So first of all, thank you so much everyone for participating. I welcome you all to SPC Annual Debate 2021 Finals. So today is a big day to think how far flung we have come and how far away we have to go, along with all the multifarious struggles and triumphs. There is much more to thrive and much more to show. So let's rejoice this majestic journey and this establishment and had up to now. Let's raise a toast to make it even better. Let's take a vow. So with this, I'm Samiksha Dupe, the General Secretary of SPC Student Council. Welcome you all to the grand finale of SPC Annual Debate. First of all, I welcome our honorable faculty members, our lovely adjudicators, and of course our finalists, Shubham, Vaishnavi, Janvi, and Krish. So, frankly speaking, the last 2 days were extremely fun. We witnessed a lot of amazing debates and very extraordinary orators. I personally enjoyed it a lot, and I hope that you all enjoyed and most importantly, learned from the experience as well. First of all, I personally want to thank all the educators, starting from KK sir, Sonia ma'am, Saurabh sir, Pratishtha ma'am, Shraddha ma'am, Hiranmai ma'am, Pranav sir, Aslam sir, Gurdeep sir, and last but definitely not least, the least, our favorite Arushi ma'am. No bias or anything. She is just our alumni, so just a sweet little spot. Okay, so thank you all for your precious inputs and time. We learned a lot from you. So I won't make you wait longer. So without further ado, let's move on to the finals. So for that, I'll call upon our moderator Piyush. Piyush, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Samiksha. Hey everyone, good afternoon. I'm Piyush Dhatrak. I will be moderating this final round of SPCE debate. So we'll start by introducing our adjudicators. Our first adjudicator is Miss Sonia Mishra, ma'am. She has an experience of 10 years in public speaking, and she has been a panelist for various national level oratory events. She has conducted for more than like 5,000 students, and she also has conducted formal and informal events for the government officials. The second adjudicator we have is Mr. KK sir. KK sir is an engineering, mechanics, graphics, and 3D modeling printing professor in the ASH department of SPIT with an MTech in mechanical engineering machine design from Sardar Patel College of Engineering. He is also faculty coordinator for the Industry Relations Committee and mentor for SPIT's eSail and Spark, which is the student-run college magazine. Both the KK sir and Sonia ma'am has been an experienced educator, and especially for Sardar Patel College of Engineering's annual fest and the cultural fest Voice It Out debate competition. Now, without further ado, we will move towards our round. So for today's round, we have the motion. This out supports the destruction of monuments of controversial historical figures. For that, we have the side proposition, Shubham and Vaishnavi, and on side opposition, we have Janvi and Krish. So before starting the actual debate, I will just go through the rules and regulation for the one last time. So as you know, for the final round, there will be a three rounds. First will be opening speech, then refutation round, and then the closing speech. The opening speech round will be of 5 minutes. Refutation round will be of 12 minutes, and the closing speech will be of the 5 minutes. The first round will start by the first speaker speech of side proposition. The refutation round will start by the first question by the side opposition, and then the closing speech will start by the opposition side. So in the refutation round, the time stipulation will be 15 seconds to ask the question, 45 seconds in order to answer that, and then 15 seconds in order to have follow up on that. After the 12-minute refutation round, each team will be given one minute in order to conclude what happened in the refutation round. Participants are requested that they cannot add new points after the refutation round. If you add so, that will result into a negative marking. And also, you cannot interrupt other speaker, and also you are requested to please respect the timings, and you cannot extend your time. So if the as the rules and regulations are clear, we will start with the opening speech by side proposition. So yes, side proposition, you can start your opening speech. Whenever you are ready, the timer will be on. Thank you.
Created by controversial historical figures who are widely condemned for their actions, but secondly, the monuments created by figures who still have some proportion of supporters and agency in modern day. We will argue and prove how destroying both these crucial and symbolic both of these is crucial for a symbolic catharsis. principles of reparations, as well as combating mental trauma associated with these kind of locations. These statues and monuments misrepresent history and glorify people who perpetuated slavery. The Tom Cook statue wrongly claims that he discovered Australia, shunning down deep cultural roots and offending the traditions of many Australian natives. France, Francisco Franco, who was directly responsible for a mass genocide but proclaimed himself to be a savior of Spain. He was a fascist dictator and he was overthrown after 36 years of tyranny. And there were literal laws that were passed in the court of Spain to remove symbols of his time, as it caused continued trauma to the people he butchered. His medallion, existing today, serves as a reminder generations later. Joseph Stalin, who was a Soviet dictator who literally purged people who went against him and was the reason for famine and starvation, his statue still exists and he's a symbol of a monster, right? That gives him importance, that statue. Removing his statue is a simple principle of reparation. Robert Clive, whose statues exist in Shrewsbury's England, looted Bengal and caused the Great Famine, but putting his statue puts him in a respectful position. Nelsel Colum, whose statue exists in London, was to commemorate Admiral Horatio, the British national who always defended and vigorously advocated for slave trade, a racist reminder to the African American students and families who are currently living in Britain about their across Africa by North Korea, despite UN sanctions and anti-nuclear pressure against the North Korea. These statues directly show solidarity to a nation who practices modern-day oppression as policy. Panel, let us note three things that these examples have in common. One, they are a continued reminder of a traumatic past. Secondly, they in some or the other way glorify or justify inhumanitarian acts. Third, they misrepresent history and mark a symbolic continuation of many of these controversial groups. I think this debate is about making a statement. I think opposition will have a pacifist stance. Here is what they will tell you. They will come here and claim that, this is a part of history and it should be conserved and we should not destroy anything and rather educate people to be sensitive about it, yada, yada, yada. Except, don't let them fool you. They probably cannot even begin to interpret the intergenerational trauma that still exists in the minds of these minorities and marginal societies. Slavery ended a century ago, and yet the after effects exist. Racism exists. A black man still fears to walk down the street without facing police brutality. I think the monuments like Mount Rushmore, which were built by people with associations with the KKK, need to be demolished. This debate is about the message that delivers an impact. I think the crimes of the centuries demand reparations. I think we need to stop marveling at the architecture and making tourist spot out of places which were constructed during oppressive, racist, inhumane periods of history by figures who have done nothing but monstrous things. I think we at least owe it to the marginalized is a sentiment of justice. We need to demolish these symbols out of pure apology, if not out of basic human empathy. I think there is no way to undersell this, but every time an African American looks at a statue or a monument of racist origins, he's reminded that the democratic country that he lives in still gives a pedestal to the oppressors who killed his forefathers. The burden on the opposition is to tell us why we should let this symbolic reminder continue to induce pain and mental trauma to the marginalized. They need to come here and justify why it is okay for a white racist to look up at a monument and feel a sense of superiority in his skin and demean others. They need to tell me why should a Bengali child living in England look out at Robert Clive's statue from his window of his office, a man who literally starved millions of Bengalis to death without a second thought. We think this debate is also important for the future. Today, we set a precedence for the generations to follow. We do not advocate to destroy history or take away all existence of such statues and monuments. In fact, the history of these oppressors can survive in books, where it shall be heavily condemned and criticized, and these monuments shall fall, for they represent that we aren't a world in any way would recognize, glorify, or celebrate and diminish the atrocious acts of these people. We are a world of inclusivity. And as far as justice goes, we shall pay the principle of reparations. Extremely, extremely proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, team proposition. Opposition can start their opening speech.
All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're from, to everyone who is in here. The motion before the House today is that the House supports the destruction of historical figures, of monuments of controversial historical figures. I, Krish Pandya, and my teammate Janvi Timkar are going to present the opposition. Well, in his opening speech, the proposition quite accurately summed up my entire speech. I literally had the words yada, yada, yada in my notes. I'm going to take them out now. Morality and ethics are extremely difficult topics to tackle. Philosophers have been arguing and debating about these topics over centuries now. the things that get away, these things get way more complex when it comes to history and when we add the factor of time in them. The moral laws widely accepted in society back in the day were drastically different from those that we accept now. And by that logic, come to think of it, the moral laws few centuries down the line, or maybe even as close as a few decades down the line, might be extremely different as well. And let me be clear here, I'm not saying that those moral laws back in history that were pertaining were totally perfect. All I'm saying here is that these questions are not as straightforward as they are often made out to be. It's a bit rich of us, some 20-year-olds, to decide what is right and what is wrong and whether a person of history is controversial or not. A great example from of this comes from the legend of Ramayana. In Ramayana, we have clearly seen Ravana as an evil force. But not so far from our country, down south in Sri Lanka, we see how Ravana is worshipped. They regard him as a great king for all that he is famed to be doing. For them, he was a king who resisted invaders. For them, he's a tragic hero who was betrayed by his own brothers when he tried to avenge his sister's honor. Another example, and I know this from Dr. Shashi Tharoor's speech in Oxford Union, he's sort of my inspiration for this debate. Well, the example that he gives is of Winston Churchill. Churchill is best remembered for successfully leading Britain through the World War II. He was famous for his inspiring speeches and for his refusal to give in even when things were going badly. Many people consider him the greatest Briton of all time, and most definitely the most famous British Prime Minister. But on the contrary, in India, he was the one who caused the Great Bengal Famine of 1943 by diverting the supplies required in India into Europe. Dr. Tharoor in his speech mentions that when asked about the matter, Churchill said that the starvation of anyway underfed Bengalis mattered much less than that of sturdy Greeks. And when conscience-stricken British officials wrote to him, telling him that people were dying because of his policies, he peevishly wrote in the margins, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" Through these examples here, I'm not trying to argue whether these historical figures were good or bad. But instead, what I'm trying to get at here is that these questions cannot be answered as easily in a yes or no. We've seen protesters destroying and taking down statues and historical figures around the world. As a progressive left-wing liberal, I stand with the sentiment and the ideology behind these. But let's ask ourselves that if we start these series of events, how far does the chain of dominoes keep going on? It is important for us to be aware that in a free, fair society like in India, we have diametrically opposite views. And if we start the trend of destroying historical monuments as an impulsive act, we might be setting a dangerous precedent. To quote once again, I've quoted this in a previous debate as well, to quote SPC's annual debate WhatsApp group, it is better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating. As is being clearly shown by these debates that we are having over the past 4 or 5 hours, people have many, many opposing ideologies and they do feel extremely strongly about them. We all feel that we're right and the opposite person is absolutely and totally wrong. But well, if we think that, then who is exactly wrong? These aren't questions with straightforward answers, and we shouldn't pretend that we know those answers. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition. We can move towards the refutation round. I already told you it is going to follow the 15-45-15 format. And please, you are requested to keep it concise. Opposition gets
Can
the
I start?
opportunity to ask the question first. Just wait a minute, we are setting the timer. Yes, opposition, you can go ahead.
When I go ahead, right. Start my timer in 3, 2, 1. So, respected speaker, don't you feel that by dazzling these oppressors, the slavery propagators and colonialists, aren't you like capitalizing on the pain and trauma of the people who suffered at the advent of this? By making a tourist place out of a place which suffered through slavery and colonialism and oppression.
I can
I'm
take that
sorry,
question.
isn't the opposition supposed to ask the first question?
I am asking you a question.
We are the
I think
opposition.
you're the proposition.
You're in
You're the
proposal.
proposition side.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah.
Do you mind
If
if we go ahead with this order? Like I asked you a question, you answer, and then you can take up the next
Opposition,
question.
would you like to
that's okay.
answer that, or you want to
Yeah,
ask a
I
question?
can take I can take the answer if you could
Okay,
repeat
we,
the
we can
question.
continue. We can
If
continue.
you
Yeah,
could
you can
repeat the
answer that,
question
please.
once again.
Should I ask the question once again?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
sure, no problem.
sure.
My question to you is that don't you think by bedazzling somebody who caused slavery and oppression and colonialism, you are actually capitalizing on pain and trauma of the people who suffered it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you when we talk about the slave owners back in past. We are not debating that whether that those people were right. The question here is, where do we draw the line? We know that we have amazingly opposite views. The world is extremely polarized nowadays. We cannot for certainty claim that if we start doing this, the people who are of opposite views than us might also take this as a might also start taking down statues of who they think were wrong historical figures and were oppressors of the past.
I would
And
like to
so,
add to the answer. When you talk about tourism, isn't just destroying what was created century or years ago just an unnecessary act? I believe that the pain and suffering and everything was real. But today, in the 21st century, if instead of destroying those monuments, if you can earn a bonus profit out of it, if a nation can earn a profit out of the tourism that it brings, along with the respect, along with the pain that it caused, don't you think it is better than to just destroy it than to gain advantage of it?
Can I have a
Ma'am, please
15-second
keep it
rebuttal?
concise. Please keep it concise. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, you can.
15-second rebuttal. So, madam, you are saying that when you make profit out of the people who suffered transgenerational trauma, you are actually helping them in the future generations. You very much proved my point. You are making profit out of suffering, pain, and trauma, which the people cannot forget. Is that what you're saying?
That is not what I'm saying. I would like to say
Just a
that
small
some.
addition to that, if I may, ma'am. I think you
May I
guys had
continue?
your, I think
Yes,
you had,
opposition, you
both
can.
of you had your chance.
Opposition, you can.
Okay. I'm not saying that it is, I'm not agreeing that the trauma and everything is fine. I'm saying that what happened years ago, instead of just destroying it, just aimlessly without contemplating uh, the circumstances that will follow it, just aimlessly destroying it, why can't you just keep past aside and maybe try to let a country earn profit out of it by tourism?
If I may,
Yeah, now you
right.
may.
That's a very, very, very ridiculous question, because understand one thing: the country earning the profit from tourism, it's always these white upper class people and the people who own these institutions who are getting the money. It's never the people at the bottom of the food chain, right? When you go to Africa and when you, it's never the people who are living in these small poor areas who are getting the money from your tourism, right? It's always the richer people. So you're literally helping no one. But moreover, I think when you guys make the absurd claim that, hey, it's people can have opposite views, I don't think they should be allowed to have an opposite views in things such as racism, or things such as oppression, or like a dictatorship. I don't think anybody should publicly be allowed to call themselves a racist and get away with it. So I do not see what kind of opposition views you're supporting, and I really don't understand how that fits in the context of the debate. Because if anybody does have racist views and ideologies, I think they belong in court, or most probably, by my preference, in jail. I think views need to be inclusive of everybody's rights and of everybody's cultures and backgrounds, and especially the marginalized people who have been oppressed in history, especially their views should be dealt with much more sensitivity, rather than just giving everybody the right and opinion to believe and practice whatever xenophobic ideas that they have.
Thank you, sir. Opposition, you can ask your question.
Okay, I'd like to go forward with the question. If you allow certain authorities to, legally take down these statues of controversial figures, then what do you think is stopping other people, other minor sect people belonging to the minor sects, from taking down, according to their belief, statues of figures who are controversial in their point of view? I would like to state an example of Khyber
Ma'am, please ask
Pakhtunkhwa.
your question.
Okay,
I
okay.
think she has asked her.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Vaishnavi, do you
What
Opposition, you
want
can
would
to?
answer that.
what prevents the other minor sects from doing the same as well? In their point of view, it is correct. So, what do you think about that?
Shubham,
Thank
can
you.
I
All
go
right. I
ahead?
just
All right, go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
just let me add one sentence and then Vaishnavi will just complete it. In one simple sentence, this is not a video game, ma'am, that whoever wants whatever they'll go and get and buy it from some shop. This is a legal procedure and there's some rational reasoning behind it. When I go ahead and destroy Robert Clive's statue, I'm not doing it because I think that he looks ugly or I don't like him or whatever. I'm doing it because he literally caused the deaths of millions of my community members, right? If somebody has a reasoning behind such thing, then it's completely justified to go ahead. It's not that anybody was like, I don't wake up tomorrow and be like, hey, I don't like Kylie Jenner's statue, let me go and destroy it. That's not how it works, right? I have to have a rational reasoning to go ahead and destroy it. Yes, Vaishnavi, please.
That can I comment on that?
No,
Uh,
I have one answer coming back. You are not tainted in history just because.
Proposition. I think you. Opposition
Um,
has got an
let
answer.
Janvi now
Okay,
comment.
sure.
Yes, yes.
Okay, what I meant to say earlier, dear opponent, is that if you authorize this, what okay, authorization of these acts is made legal and they have a good reason to do it. But what if you authorize an act like that? Don't you think the communities are going to react? What I'm trying to tell you is that the situation that happened in Pakistan, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, this is an example that I was going to point out. What happened there was group of people illegally erupted the statue of Buddha and they just destroyed it. These things are bound to happen if you make an act like that legal, if you authorize it.
No, these things will be
Can
prevented
I
if
go
you make
ahead?
it legal. There will be a procedure.
Can I?
Yes, Vaishnavi, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can continue.
yeah. Thank you, ma'am. That you very much justified my answer. You did not take down Saddam Hussein's statue because you didn't find him appropriate enough. You took Saddam Hussein's statue because he was an oppressor. He was barbaric in his nature. Right? You are not tainted in history just for the sake of it. You are tainted in history because you killed millions of people, irrespective of gender, religion, caste, or section. Right? You are not giving an authority. Who gave the government authority to capitalize on pain and trauma? Who gave government the authority to build a museum around it? Who gave government the authority to actually put an oppressor as a historical figure? When the government does not have the authority to do that, I do not believe it has the authority to control public. You just don't want to remove a person's statue because you don't like him personally. You hate that person's existence because of the transgenerational trauma, the pain, the suffering which people suffered through because of that one particular person or the group of people. You don't hate Nazis because they were willing to go ahead on all fire camps. You hate Nazis because they killed millions of people in gas chambers. It's not a whims and fancies issue. It's actually a contentious issue on morals, on ethics, on principles.
Thank you,
Krish,
ma'am.
please
We'll
comment.
take,
Krish,
we'll
please.
take
Yeah, if
next.
I could comment on that. Yeah, so we are cherry picking examples here. We're talking about Nazis, we're talking about Saddam Hussein. They are obvious oppressors in history. Well, not all people are, not all figures in history, or not all topics in history are that straightforward. Talking about morality and ethics, they are not that straightforward as we say, as we think they are. We are living in a society which is extremely divided. We cannot agree on minor issues, and we fight about historical figures all the day. And what we're talking about here is, if we set the precedent of what figures being taken down, of historical figures, the statues of historical figures being taken down, we are inevitably going to raise more and more questions about, from all different sides of the debate, to talk about whether or not to take each and every statue down.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If I
Preposition,
may.
your next question. Because we are
Who's
stretching.
supposed to ask the question?
You
Is it
ask the
our turn to
question.
ask the
We're just
question?
going about your question. Preposition, your next question.
Oh,
Right.
Vaishnavi, go ahead.
Yeah. So,
Or do you?
just a second. Shobham, if you have a question, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, in the first line of your speech, sir, you said that moral laws back in the day were different. However, my whole speech was literally asking you one simple question: why is it justified for these monuments and statues to continue to induce trauma to the marginalized in the modern day? Because modern day law, according to you, is a liberal progressive. So, what's your comment on that?
Yeah, so
Can I?
exactly what I'm trying to talk about here. What we're talking about are symbolic reparations, right? I do agree with the fact that symbolic reparations are a great tool to empower societies and bring about change. But what I would be more importantly, more eager to concentrate about on would be about the practical reparations of the issues. When it comes to things like when it comes to questions like slavery and the horrible regime of the Nazis, there is no doubt that these were wrong people. But what I'm trying to get here at is at if we start this, where do we stop?
I would like to ask the
If
question that we are supposed to
Wait,
ask.
wait,
Please
wait.
let
Any
the
follow up on
proposition
any
give the
follow up
comment.
on that?
right,
If the
thank you so
proposition has any
much.
comment.
Yes, sure. I think it's extremely ironical that they come up here and say things that, quote unquote, it's not that straightforward and there is a doubt and these kind of things. We give you 7 examples of history, and all they have to answer for it is Ramayana. I mean, no offense to Ramayana, but please stick to actual facts. Then, if there is no doubt, then please tell, if like give me one real, actual, tangible example of where things are doubted. Because in all the examples I've given you, you seem to be agreeing with me. So, are you fighting for my side? And if you're fighting for your side, please at least give me one real, tangible, actual historical fact to prove your case. Because
Do
I
you
don't see that coming from any of you. You
do
say
you
our
believe
examples are cherry picked. You don't have examples.
Can I quickly respond to that?
Yeah, 23 seconds, please.
We see in India, we have supporters of Nathuram Godse. I gave you the example of Winston Churchill. We've seen many other examples in society right now about whom there are opposite views about those people. And I do not think that we will lack if we go out looking for such examples.
Thank you, sir. Now
Vaishnavi, you
both the
may
teams
have
will
30
get
seconds for
1 minute.
conclusion.
Okay,
Right.
Piyush, what
So
is
very
the
much,
conclusion timing?
1 minute, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
Shubham, if you want to go ahead, please go ahead.
I think opposition concludes first, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, the position will conclude first.
Krish, would you like to go ahead with this conclusion?
Okay, sure. So we've seen arguments about historically oppressive regimes and historically oppressive people in the past who have caused a lot of stress and trauma to people in today's society. What we are arguing here is the radical step of taking down historic monuments of these figures. I would like to reiterate myself in saying that philosophical questions about morality are not straightforward to answer. We can sit here and claim that we know all the answers to these questions, but the fact of the matter is that it is not that straightforward.
I'd like
And
to speak. One question still remains, but do you really solely believe that destroying these physical statues, do you think living in denial that the past did not happen is going to help anybody? The fact that by destroying these things, are you going to believe that the past did not happen at
Your
all?
time is over, ma'am. Thank you,
Yeah.
opposition. Proposition have 1 minute to conclude the repetition round.
Just give me 1 second, I'll give you a countdown.
Yes, sir.
Vaishnavi, please switch on your camera.
Right. I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Panel, let's get one thing extremely clear. This is not living in denial. The last paragraph of my speech literally says that these things exist in history, in history books, where they will be extremely criticized and condemned. And these monuments being taken down is a symbolic gesture out of human empathy to pay reparations to all those who were marginalized and oppressed. Panel, we have given you 7 examples of Tom Cook, of Francisco Franco, of Joseph Stalin, of Robert Clive, Lensel's column, African statues, KKK, and whatnot. And all we get from them, and as far as I've done my homework, Godse and Churchill do not have their statues or any monuments, so yeah, please do your homework. But all we get from them is Ramayana. This literally shows how prepared they are in terms of making their argument. They come up here and tell that there's no doubt about whatever we have said, it's absolutely right, which means they agree with us. But then what is their doubt about? They give you no examples. I don't think Ramayana really qualifies in an actual debate. But then they come and say Godse and Churchill, both of whom don't have a monument, which means they didn't read the motion. Panel, it's a clear prop win. Happy to rebut.
Thank you, proposition. It's time for the closing speeches by both the teams. Opposition goes first.
Okay, I'd like to start with opposition. I'll give you the countdown if it's not a problem.
Yes, please.
Okay.
You're on mute.
I'm not speaking.
Janvi, you should begin now.
Okay. Okay. To start, first of all, I believe that taking down the statues of the people of these controversial figures is, it is a sentimental value to, reprehend for the suffering of what happened in the past, but it also leads to believe that history, nothing as bad as that happened in history. I believe it's going towards living in denial that history did not happen. And another point that I would ask, dark past and suffering, what do they exactly lead to? Wasn't these movements, these unfortunate situations, and these operational times that led us to unity and uh, self respect, and to take a stand against oppression and come together as a society, come together as people who have respect for themselves, and then fight against these oppressors? Another point I would like to add is, again, which we about what we debated in the refutation round. If the authorities start taking down these statues, then it will obviously encourage the minor sects, the people who actually don't have authority, to act against it. If you take down a statue of something that I believe to be right, I'll take down a statue of a figure that you was important to you. Or maybe if it falls in region, I will react in the same aggressive way. So destruction of the symbols that are witness to the past is not the right way, is not the justice that these sentiments deserve. Another thing is that the physical statue, it stands there, it's in stone, and what today we have moved past behind it, it is a reminder of what happened, right? That's sad, I agree, that is entirely sad, but I don't think it's bad. It's only an indication that history remains still while we move past beyond it. And just like statues, they stand still, there's nothing going to happen to them. They do indicate something, they do symbolize something. But we, as we move past it, if we decide not to destroy them, if we let them be where they are, we are calmly, very calmly stating that we have overcome the past trauma, we are moving past it, we are beyond the injustice that happened to us, while keeping in mind what man suffered through, what we suffered through. And we stand stronger than ever, and we exist and thrive in front of those statues, we revolve around them while they stand corrupting in the air. And you are what you are today. The society is what it is today because of everything that happened to it, the good and the bad. Destroying these statues is like, it is, if you say, in a way, it is sentimental. It is trying to not give importance to the bad part of history, to the oppressive part of history, to the people who invoke injustice on us. It is kind of denying that those things happened. If you don't give importance to the good and the bad equally, the result that you see today would not be the same as it would be if you erase them. So I believe that erasing these statues is not the most practical solution to look at what happened in the past. It, if you say that it glorifies wrong people, it does, but symbolism is very important. Just as we need to know the good parts of history, we need to know the positive side of history, the positive circumstances of everything that happened. We also need to take into accordance and not try to, abolish the importance of what was bad in history, all the trauma that happened in the history. And well, if you talk about sentimental justice, you can get justice not by destroying those physical bodies. They are merely physical representations of what happened. Then you'll be just acting out as the emperors in the ancient time who decided to fight and kill thousands of people in a battle to win over a territory. This is not a territorial battle. This is a battle of belief. It's whether you want to cause destruction and try to maybe eradicate the physical presence of the injustice of the wrong, or whether you want to let it be in a subtle way, you want to move past it, and in its face you want to say that we as society have grown together beyond it. We are still growing, we are still learning, and we are still thriving. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition. The opposition can start their closing speech whenever they are ready.
Hi, am I completely audible and visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please start with my timer in 3, 2, 1. Firstly, when you're bringing down a statue, you are not erasing a part of history. You are actually making us see it more clearly. Like the struggles that people face through, the sufferings that people went through. It's a connection between rights and memories. When you are highlighting an oppressor, when you're giving a symbolic place in a public place to an oppressor, you are legitimizing his or her existence. It's a struggle of anti racism, anti Semitism, anti fanaticism, anti fascism, anti starvation, anti dictatorship. And my partner very clearly gave you examples of Francisco Franco, Captain James Cook, Robert Clive, Joseph Stalin, who were actual oppressors who caused mass starvation, famines, Soviet dictatorship, and killed people. It was a mass genocide which happened. Right, it was not mere examples of iconoclastic fury that you break a certain things, you burn a few effigies, and you forget about it. These were the people who actually caused mass problems in the society. And I find it very funny as to how my opponent came up and said, you need to move past it, you need to forget it, you are growing as a society. It's not a romantic breakup to delete a few photos and edit a few videos. It's a genocide. It was mass killings and mass rapes. It was not a convenient, convenient misgeneration. It was women being murdered and raped and made pregnant every year to give birth to that particular section. When you start painting and tainting history, you're removing a part of history. It's like me coming today and painting over Jallianwala Bagh because I don't find it and I've moved past it. The person who has been through that suffrage, that trauma would know it. When you are toppling monuments which commemorate these rulers, you're actually giving it a historical dimension. It's a struggle against racism, oppression. When you're putting a statue of Robert Clive in Shrewsbury, England, when you're putting up a statue of General you gentrifying the genocide. You are actually fetishizing the oppressors, which you don't want to do. Millions of dollars of upkeep happens for this, and in a way, you're putting up a point that it's okay, we've moved past it. You killed us, it's all right. You raped us, it's all right. It's not that so. And very much clearly, how my opponent came up and said, you can earn profit from it in touristic places. How fancy is it? People died over here, let me make money and let me go developmental approach over it. I think it's a very redundant and a very naive interpretation of history as to understanding. And again, how my worthy opponent came up and said, and Shashi Tharoor said this about Winston Churchill, Shashi Tharoor said about glorification, Shashi Tharoor also said about broken limbs, also said about burnt bodies, also said about how people were mutilated when they retaliated. Why aren't you talking about that part of history? Understand, it is not sentimental. A rape is not sentimental. A genocide is not sentimental. Burnt people are not sentimental. It is pain, intergenerational trauma, suffering, and most importantly, the impact which exists in the society. Again, how very conveniently my worthy opponent came up and said how Ravana is glorified as a god. No, Ravana is treated as a king in Sri Lanka, but is again not given the respect. Just like how we worship Lord Ashoka for his great in leadership, that is how exactly he is treated. Does not mean you're justifying it. In no way they are erecting Ravana monuments and giving him and putting him on that pedestal. That's a very redundant approach to it in the first place only. Secondly, how you are conveniently coming up and saying it will propagate more people to burn. You are not taking out a chewing gum from a shoe. You're taking out a monument. You're putting an oppressor on a pedestal. You're putting him or her on a statue and telling it's all right whatever you did. We're legitimizing you. We'll earn profits from you. It's not vandalism or barbaric in nature. It's a symbol of retaliation. When politicians don't talk about police brutality, racism, violence, systematic inequality, then you have no issues. But he's talking about how his or her ancestors were burnt and killed. That is how you will talk about it. None of us really know about Robert Clive, how he mutilated so many people, how he caused the Bengal famine, how he let millions of people die of starvation, or how you don't conveniently forget about Joseph Stalin, who was a perpetrator of violence. He literally purged on Soviet Union, killing men, women, and children ruthlessly. And still there is a statue present in Moscow today of how you glorify Tashkent or Dushanbe or Dishkent in any of these countries. You are actually putting them on a pedestal and telling them we're completely all right with whatever you did. Again, my worthy opponent, I don't remember his name, came up and talked about Winston Churchill's glorification. Winston Churchill was glorified. In which part of British history aren't they not glorifying their oppressors? They're glorifying Churchill, they're glorifying Clive, they're glorifying Mountbatten, they're glorifying every other person. Tomorrow they will build a statue of Janet Dyer also. Would you be okay with that? It's not about the oppressor saying, it's the one oppressed. Britishers were the imperialists, the colonialists. They were the ones who caused trauma, and I was the one who suffered. You cannot put a statue in my house and expect me to be okay with it because I've moved past it. It's not Kabir Singh happening. It's not a breakup. It's a typical trauma that caused my families, my generations to suffer through accolades of it. And you have to stop putting them on a pedestal and stop making profit out of it. That's the exact point. Stop minting money out of trauma. Thank you, and I rest my case here.
Thank you, Preposition. There was a lot of heat in both the rounds. We'll ask our adjudicators.
If KK sir has something to say, please.
Yes. KK, sir?
I cannot stop smiling first of all.
That's
Yeah.
what's happening with us also, ma'am.
Yeah, this was intense. Um, right, so see, this is the kind of motion that we can spend all day long discussing and deconstructing, right? There's no clear yes or no here, unlike a lot of other motions that we see. Very contentious topic, because as side opposition is talking about, right? Where do you draw the line here? Like, how fast can you go from that to like a proper Orwellian state where we just continuously rewrite history to suit our current political regime, right? On the other hand, team proposition, I don't think uh, it doesn't really need to be mentioned, I suppose, but I'm going to do it anyway. But if anybody ever needed a clearer picture of what intergenerational trauma does to you, how it just warps your entire perspective, that until that right is wronged or that wrong is righted in some capacity, we cannot move on. I think side proposition did a really good job of addressing that. Yeah. So we have a really good debate, guys. I liked it a lot. Yeah. Sonia, ma'am.
Uh, I completely agree with you, KK sir. And more than that, being a debater myself in the past, basically the fancy examples that Vaishnavi was giving about Kabir Singh, about the romantic breakup, even the audience not interested in history would have that feeling of relatability. So that was a plus point I really enjoyed, and that is the reason I couldn't stop smiling. And this is not Kabir Singh happening over here. More than that, there were actually, as KK sir said, there were constructive points put forward. And the job that the proposition has done into actually bringing the reality in front of us was amazing. And I know that even Janvi and Krish, they got this topic and their side proposition and opposition, like it was from us, from the organizers. It was that too on a mayhem basis, first of all. And second, you all also did a wonderful job into such a topic where KK sir also mentioned that the line that we have to draw. You all just did an amazing job. I request Samiksha to please give me and KK sir a separate room as discussed earlier, so that we can come to a
Ma'am, I have
conclusion.
messaged you both on WhatsApp.
Okay,
Could you please check?
just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a room link in there, Piyush, in the WhatsApp
Yes, I
message?
have messaged you on WhatsApp, sir.
Can you just email that instead, because I'm not at
Yeah,
my
yeah, sir.
WhatsApp phone.
Yes, sir. I will mail you, sir.
Sure.
Just to reiterate, I'm Krish, by the way. Hi.
Hi, Krish.
Are the adjudicators here? Can they hear us? No, no.
I'm here. I'm here. Hi, Krish. Piyush, have you sent me the link yet?
Alright, hello everyone. Till the time the decision is being, like the educators are taking the decision, let's have a small discussion, shall we? So, how did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys like it? The organization, the motions, everything, anything? Any complaints to the organizing committee? Any
Yeah,
changes
yeah.
we can
Please
do?
let us know.
None at all. It was really amazing. It was
It was
what,
well
a
coordinated.
dream come true to debate with such amazing opponents. Just loved it. Thank you so much.
Right, great. We also have our previous educators with us, Shraddha ma'am, Hiranmay ma'am. Please, any opinions on today's debates? How did you like it?
Hi, good afternoon. I think it was a very productive debate. I actually was put in a room with Shubham and Vaishnavi yesterday, and they were amazing out there, and it's a pleasure to hear them again. And to be very honest, I think it was a very productive debate, great points, and something that you can really deliberate upon, and a never-ending debate, actually. So, yeah, and Krish and Janvi, great job. I did not get to meet you both, but it was a pleasure listening to you guys. Yeah, thank you so much.
Maybe next year. Who knows?
Surely.
I actually want to give a token of thanks to the organizing committee because I was really nagging Aryan that I need 5 more minutes. My partner is joining. I need 10 minutes. He's in UAE because it was a very difficult task. You know, we are it's a country, continental Asia, में तो है, trans country issue happening between us. We were kind of reacting कि कैसे manage करना है, but Aryan was very accommodative and thank you and Piyush sir and Samiksha ma'am and everybody being so polite and kind. And even Janvi and Pishu guys are great. I really had fun debating with you guys. It's a very
Thank
well
you,
put
Maya,
debate.
for reminding me. Aryan was really very well coordinating. Even my partner Krish is in the USA currently. He was very considerate of our times, asking us if we are comfortable with the time zones and everything. So nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for that.
Okay, so do we have KK sir as well? Just,
I'm here.
okay. Oh, hi, sir.
So, yeah, are we ready with the decision?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, we didn't have to discuss much.
All right, the floor is all yours.
Before that, I just want to say, as Janvi and Vaishnavi said, the whole organizing team, they have been on their toes since yesterday for each and every debate. There was not even a minute delay. They were all there. If it is 2 p.m., they were present 2 p.m. So that was so amazing, and that was actually being professional. And this doesn't helps you here itself. This also helps you in your future when you go ahead in your life. That is an amazing trait to have. And even the timers who were keeping the time, they were so. It may seem a small job, but to keep a time and then to mention at 30 seconds that okay, 30 seconds left. I remember Tejas and Ajay, and thank you Aryan for doing that today. I appreciate. I had my moderator Aditya, if he's there in the meeting. Aditya, can you switch on your camera? Yeah, Aditya has done a wonderful job in keeping everyone comfortable as far as it is concerned about me. Samiksha, I need not to mention, like, she is the best in handling all the things. Like, she was so proud that, oh my God, my team is handling everything so good. And I do not know others, but really thank you for having me here. And the debate was amazing on basis of points, on basis of constructives and everything. KK sir, please.
I'll just echo everything Sonia ma'am said. Besides that, I feel like there are some aspects of conducting debate competitions that are easier to do on premises. There are certain checks and balances we don't really need to worry about, such as constantly monitoring everybody's eye movements and so on and so forth. So, from that perspective, considering that uh, we're still doing this in this strange little hybrid mode of like online, offline, and so on and so forth. This is the third time that I'm seeing you guys doing it in this online capacity. And I feel like you have a really well oiled machine by this point. So, in the future, if at all you feel like you need to have like a hybrid component where you want to tap like international participants, you do have a UAE participant today, I'm assuming. I feel like you're in a very good position to pull that off. And that's all thanks to you guys and your dedication to this debate competition. Back to you guys.
So the results are ready. So do we need to do some dhak, or can we come to the results?
It's for a drum roll.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we really having it?
No. I was just joking.
Okay. So KK sir, may I?
Ma'am, go ahead, please.
Okay. So
Ma'am, just a second.
yes.
I'm so sorry, but our Dean Academics is joining, so we'll be releasing the finals after that, results after that.
Oh,
So
100%, 100%.
yeah, till then we can have a conversation. Like
Yeah,
anything.
people can share their experiences. I would like to hear it from Shubham. How did how did he feel facing Adit and Ananya? Where is Shubham? Is he there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
hi Shubham. Yeah. So how was it for
Yeah,
you? Like, please give
it
us
was
also
amazing.
tips like how to tackle if there is someone so dominant.
All right, I'll just start from where it started today. So last night I had gone out with my friends and came home a bit late. And today morning I actually woke up really late. So I woke up, I think, 10 minutes before the first quarterfinal round began. Now still brushing my teeth when I texted back Aryan. And I still hadn't set up my router and all that stuff. So thank you so much, the organizing team, first of all, for accommodating all this. Yeah, secondly, the since the at least all the rounds today, the motions were really amazing and thought provoking. I remember, like, even after seeing every motion, the first thing, like, I texted Vaishnavi and I was like, dude, this is so good. This is going to be very close. We should have probably got the other side, this side, that side. So yeah, that was there, and she was extremely supportive. She helped me out. She's a history student, so especially for this round, she helped me out a lot. I'm an engineer and I've never read a history book in my life. So yeah, the opposition was, the opposition team was really amazing. They had some brilliant points. I think in the oppositions in all the rounds were really amazing. They were very close. And I think the best part was that many times the opposition says something and then I just retrospectively, okay, if I was in their position, I wouldn't have been able to think like this, which is the reason I do these kind of events, because like I really get to listen to like a lot of other people's opinions and things which I couldn't have thought about at all. So like a lot of the things I think Krish over here and even though a lot of people from previous rounds, they said those are things that I would have never, those are directions that I would have never thought about. So yeah, that was really amazing. The participation was amazing. Organizing team amazing. Even the judges gave really nice feedback. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I'd like to welcome our Dean Academics, Dr. Santosh Rane. Thank you so much, sir, for your presence. So with your permission, can we go ahead with the results?
Yes, Samiksha, please go ahead. My best wishes.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Okay, so the moment of truth, and I welcome Santosh Rane sir as well. Thank you so much for having us here. And it was a wonderful organization from your students. It was really amazing to have heard this debate. So after the intense 2-day almost league quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals, we have the runner-up as Team Krish and Janvi. Congratulations to you guys. Needless to mention,
Thank you so much.
the winners are Vaishnavi and Shubham for your amazing constructives and the essence of actual arguments that you had. Amazing.
Yeah, ma'am. We'll also need a best speaker.
Okay, you'll need a best speaker. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
KK sir, we didn't think about it. We didn't know about it. I'll keep my opinion. Let's do it live only, and KK sir can keep his opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, please, sir. Please go ahead.
Wow. I have to give it to Shubham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have a mixed opinion over here. For
Okay.
me, it's Vaishnavi, but as sir also said, Shubham. So what can we do now? I'm a little confused. For Shubham, basically, he said that he didn't even read the history the history books, and still he was able to present it good. Maybe Vaishnavi will also be happy if we do it, if we give it to Shubham.
I'll be more than happy to give it to him.
Okay,
He's a
okay.
very hardworking person, and I was so naggy. Ye likho, ye padho, do this, do that. That's a well-deserved win for him.
Okay, so KK sir, please.
Right. So for this round of debates, the best speaker is Shubham. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all the winners. So with this, we officially come to an end to SPC Annual Debate 2021. Now I'll call upon Abdul to please give the vote of thanks.
It is Ajay.
So sorry, Ajay, please give the vote of thanks.
On the behalf of SPC Literary Arts Committee, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to all the adjudicators, winners, and participants. First of all, I would like to congratulate the winner-up and the runner-up teams for their outstanding performance. I also congratulate the best speaker for this debate. As every participant is a winner, I would also congratulate all the participants who shared their opinions and put on their best performance. Special thanks to the adjudicators Saurabh Bhosle sir, Pranav Kumar sir, Hiranmayi Rao ma'am, Sonia ma'am, KK sir, Pratishta ma'am, Aslam sir, Gurudeep Singh sir, and last but not the least, our Arushi ma'am, who spared time from their busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheel starts rolling few weeks ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye view. Thanks to organizer team for organizing such an event. I also extend my vote of thanks to moderators and volunteers who have taken all the care such that the debate goes as per the scheduled plan. I would like to thank people who work behind the scene to make this event happen. Our technical arrangement team, stage setting, and the camera setting team. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a very proactive and dedicated General Secretary Samiksha Tupe, Literary Secretary Pallavi, and Finance Secretary Sadhvi, Magazine Secretary Vedant. It was all possible due to the constant support that we received from them during the entire duration of organization of this event. A special mention to our respected principal M.M. Murudi sir, Dean Academics Santosh Rane sir, and Solanki ma'am, and all the faculty and the staff members for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillars of strength. My gratitude to all the speakers and every person for gracing the occasion. Here I officially declare that the SPC Annual Debate 2021 is over. Hope to see such zeal and enthusiasm next year. Again, a very warm thanks to all of you for making this event as a wonderful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Congratulations
guys.
to the winning team.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.